What's up, guys? It's your girl, Small Time Hero, and welcome to Small Time World YouTube channel. So, today I really want to dive into the Great Prophecy. S- Specifically, specifically because I said I would talk about it during the season, but I wasn't really sure if I would be spoiling anything. And part of like the Percy Jackson experience is like getting to experience like all the mystery and things of your own and put it together yourself. So I didn't want to spoil anything for anybody, but after watching the season finale, I'm realizing that the book is just reference and we can talk about everything that's gonna happen in the book because it might not even happen in the show or it might get changed in the show. So I feel comfortable talking about it. So let's first grapple with the Great Prophecy. So the Great Prophecy was given to the three eldest gods, and it came after World War II. So in World War II, the different like nations and factions are like basically broken up into different gods and their children. And while I can't remember specifically who was who, I do remember like Hades was like um Germany, and I want to say Zeus was America, and so that would make Poseidon anybody else. So I don't specifically remember, but I do know that it was broken up like that. And because World War II was so catastrophic and such a huge thing, and it changed the world for like, up until recently, um, there was a treaty made between the three eldest gods. And that treaty said that basically they wouldn't have any more children with mortals because demigods tend to be dangerous. And that's something that's very hinted on in the book. It's said a lot throughout the book, and it's true. Demigods are considered dangerous. That's just really what it is. But it also says that like just mortals, right? They can't have kids with mortals. So everybody broke this treaty except for Hades, which I thought was really interesting because, like, if you think back to the first season of Percy Jackson, or if you think back to the Lightning Thief, you find out that Hades isn't what you like, what the stories and the legends would give you. While he does, do some of those things, it's not super unfair. But like I said, Hades doesn't break the treaty, but Poseidon, Percy, and Zeus, Thalia, and Jason eventually. Like I said, we're gonna talk about it all because I mean, at this point, I don't know like if we're gonna get a Heroes of Olympus show. I mean, I would love it. I would absolutely love it, but also like, I'm not sure. So, yeah, so Zeus broke his treaty twice. Although they have the same parents, he broke the treaty twice. And like if you read Heroes of Olympus, you find out that Jason and Thalia are brother and sister, but one of them is like on the Greek side. And so that just means that Zeus visited their mother at one point and then came back and changed into his Roman form and visited their mother again. And that's why they have their brother and sister, but one of them is Roman and one of them is Greek. It's so crazy when you try and break this down, like to people who haven't read the book. But yeah, that's specifically why Jason has like his whole story arc in Heroes of Olympus. So like I said, Percy is Poseidon's, fuck up. But although he does say that, you can't control fate or love, and I think Percy is product of both fate and love. So the same thing with Thalia, even though we find out that Zeus literally killed his daughter. Okay, so we're not gonna recover that. We already done that, so let's move on. Let's talk about what the Great Prophecy says. A half-blood of the eldest gods shall reach 16 against all odds and see the world in endless sleep. The hero's soul cursed blade shall reap. A single choice shall end his days. Olympus to preserve or erase. So the first line of the prophecy speaks of a child of the big three making, being born, and that is the big three would be Poseidon, Hades, and Zeus. And like I said, there are a lot of options right now when you just look at that very first phrase by itself, and that's Thalia, Grace. We won't talk about Jason Grace right now because I don't think he counts because he is Roman. You got Percy, who is Poseidon's forbidden child, and then you have Nico D'Angelo, who is Hades' forbidden child, and well, technically they're just Hades' children because the D'Angelo brother Nico and Bianca are older than Percy and Thalia all together. I think they were born maybe like right before World War II, and he hid those children in order for them not to be harmed, or because he felt like his brothers might do something to them after the treaty. He hid those children in the Lotus Casino. Hades did. And if you remember from season one, in the Lotus Casino, you don't necessarily age. And time moves at a very, very different pace in the Lotus Casino. And so, like, Nico and Bianca don't age. So, but they are the oldest. They are the oldest. And then you have Thalia, who didn't age, technically. She did not age as a tree. And then you have Percy, who does age and does actually make it to 16. The next line is about the child making it to 16 against all odds. Well, I do feel like Percy does like go through the most trying to be killed, like in 2 quests. Like, he's been stabbed, he's been poisoned, he's been drowned. Well, no, he's never been drowned, but like it's been a lot of stuff done to Percy. So that's a very, very good reason to say, like, yeah, Percy would be this child. Now let me say this. I don't know if I already said this, but this is not like Harry Potter, where you could say maybe Neville was also like a chosen child or a child of the prophecy. This is not that. It's Percy. Excuse me. It's Percy all the way through, period. But yeah, so but also Thalia, we find out in at least I think at the end of the Titan's Curse that Thalia becomes one of Artemis's hunters. And so she stops aging altogether. So after that happens, it becomes very apparent that it's Percy. You know what I'm saying? And so the next lines of the prophecy are, see the world in an endless sleep. When Percy looks down from the Empire State Building or from Olympus, he actually sees the city of Manhattan completely asleep. The gods or this old magic basically did this so that the humans would not interfere in the war, because like a lot of human interference happened, those 70 years ago during World War II. So that's why that's what that part of the prophecy says. But also, like, at this point when we're putting the prophecy together, Percy is the only person that this could be about. Like, Nico, I think, is around, but he's too young. And I think by the time we get here, Bianca has already passed. R.I.P. Bianca. Spoiler alert for anybody who did not know. But yeah, so by the time we get here, we already seen like this is Percy's path. He'll see the world in endless sleep, and he'll have to make a decision. A cursed blade shall reap. I'm not reading it verbatim. I know I've already gone through it, but yes, this part of it talks about the promise that Luke made to Annabeth. Luke promised to always keep Annabeth safe and to keep them together, right? So Annabeth, when he promised her this, he gave her a blade. That is the blade that the prophecy speaks of as a cursed blade, because Luke broke his promise to Annabeth. That's the cursed blade. So the decision Percy has to make which is mentioned in the next line, the decision that Percy has to make is basically to give Luke Annabeth's blade or to fight Luke himself. The best decision he can make, either way Luke dies. But Percy giving Luke Annabeth's knife is the right decision because it allows Luke to atone for the things that he's done. And that decision to give Luke Annabeth's knife is a decision to preserve Olympus. Had Percy tried to fight Luke himself in that moment, and it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. I think Atlas is Annabeth is holding up the world at this point. It's so much it's so much Greek mythology. It's crazy. But if Percy had made that decision to actually fight Luke in that moment, he would have torn down Olympus. So that is basically what the prophecy says. And that's all I can really give you without going into details about like each chapter of the book, cuz we got to get into the Titan's curse and we got a labyrinth to get through. So we got a whole lot to go through, but all of this culminates in the Battle of Manhattan. So like all of this, it all makes sense at the end of the book. But I'm thinking that with the series being, painted the way it's being painted, that we might not actually get the same thing. So I want to like help the people who are watching the show like understand like the great prophecy or understand the references. Like I said, this is my first time like being in a situation where I've read the book and now I'm watching the show. Like I told you before, I saw Harry Potter before I read it. And the same thing with The Walking Dead. Like I saw The Walking Dead before I read it. So it's one of those things. So I'm really, really, really excited to see if it's gonna be just the same thing or if they're gonna change it. Like, and we won't know. Like, truthfully, this is how you build the anticipation. And I remember reading Heroes of Olympus most recently because like that came out while I was in college. And like Heroes of Olympus was one of those books where it was like anticipation, like Athena's curse, like all of it was just like, oh my goodness. And it was coming out like year by year. So like I'll post pictures of like I was at Barnes and Noble like with my little sushi reading the book because I was so excited that it was coming out. But yeah, this is a way to build that build that excitement and build that anticipation. So I'm hoping that I'm helping you guys with the great prophecy. Share, like, subscribe, send it to a friend, send it to a Percy Jackson lover, send it to a Percy Jackson hater. I don't care. But yeah, so make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you can see when I put out videos. I am getting more consistent with putting out videos. I'm not gonna leave y'all for 6 months again. I promise I'll never do that again. But yeah, so let's talk about it. Also, I will be covering Wonder Man. I know they're releasing all the episodes at one time. We're not gonna get into that right now, although Disney, y'all, foul. But anyway, so I will be covering Wonder Man, but I do have to watch it, so it probably won't be like next day coverage unless I do like maybe episode 1 through, I think it's 8 episodes, so 1 through 4 and then do 4 through 8. So yeah, man, I am really excited to get into some more Percy Jackson lore and Percy Jackson book lore for you guys. I appreciate everybody for watching my videos. I thank you for, liking, subscribing, and all those things that I asked you to do. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys on the next video. All right.